Om Sri Sai Ram. Sai Baba and the Naranarayana Kufa Ashramam. Chapter 1. On the way. Many of you will have heard about this rare yet important pilgrimage site and the events that took place there from time to time. Sai devotees from Mithila and Nepal have already briefly reported on the high quality and realized disciples who live in this holy place, and those reports were sensational. However, in March 1987, I myself had the rare opportunity to meet the leader of this ashram when, at Bhagavan Baba's request, he came to Puttaparthi. This gave me the opportunity to hear from him personally all the details about this holy ashram, and from what I was told, I got the impression that we are by no means living in the Iron Age, but rather in the era in which the truth predominates. If that Iron Age exists, it only exists in the maze of ignorance in which man becomes entangled due to imaginary fears. I have known the leader of the ashram, who wishes to remain anonymous, since 1978, and met him on my first visit to Puttaparthi to receive the blessings of Baba's presence. The blocks of eyes I spent in his company were precious moments for me. He is 35 years old, from Janakpur, located in the Mithila district of Bihar, has a PhD in mathematics and has a great knowledge of Indian scriptures. The man told me the following story about the ashram. About 45 kilometers northwest of the sanctuary of Badrinath is a mountain known as the Narayana Parvata. At the foot of this mountain is a huge cave, the opening of which faces north. A clear freshwater stream flows in one place in the cave. The rest of the cave is dry. There are numerous caves in Himalayas, but like the Amarnath cave, they are all almost always moist because water steeps down from all sides. They are therefore uninhabitable. However, this cave is dry and can therefore be used as a residence. By order of Bhagavan Sai Baba, the group that has settled here consists of 11 people. 2 of them are old sannyasis. They are not only advanced in age, but also in spiritual experience and knowledge of the scriptures. 15 years ago, they were lucky enough to receive Swami's mercy. They possess all the qualities necessary to achieve realization of the soul and have already made considerable progress in this regard, which of course commands our congratulations and respect. They are known under the names Sri 108 Swami Vamadevji Maharaj and Sri 108 Swami Virajanandaji Maharaj, and have excellent health in this advanced age. The 108 prefixed before the names denote their age. The other 9 group members are originally from Nepal or Mithila and have all graduated from a branch of art or science, while some of them also hold doctoral degrees in philosophy. They are between 30 and 35 years old. In the field of spiritual development, they are also fully familiar with the sacred scriptures and well-versed in ancient Indian culture. Listening to the inspiring discussions between these chosen people, one soon thinks of the dialogues between Krishna and Arjuna as in the Gita displayed. Curious by nature, Arjuna asks Krishna, Madhusudana, what happens to a yogi who gives up his body without having succeeded in achieving his goal of union with God? What awaits him then? Immediately afterwards, Arjuna himself already guesses the answer. I think that the yogi has the same fate as a cloud in the air that is torn to shreds by a gust of wind. The power of the illusion must completely crush him because he is on his spiritual path, has failed miserably in achieving his goal during his lifetime. Has he not, Krishna? Kabir expresses this forcefully when he says, Sai hometown is far away. The effort you have to make to achieve it is like climbing a palm tree. If you manage to reach the top, you will obtain the juice of divine love. But if you slip, you will crash. Lord Krishna is in his answer. First, he lovingly reprimands Arjuna, please never ask me such a question again. And then answers it with, those who have committed themselves to me will never be lost. Only those who have been deluded by illusion can expect such a tragic end. Arjuna then asked, okay, but then he will surely end up in a poor family when he is born again, won't he? This time Krishna replied with an unexpected vehemence. No, certainly not. My children are never born into a poor or needy family. Rather, they end up in a wealthy and prosperous family who still lead sober lives. What had been said in the previous paragraph is particularly true of 11 members of the Naranarayana Ashram. None of them come from a poor family. They all come from a noble, prosperous, and loving family. None of them are narrow-minded or have questionable views. All are motivated by high ideas of life. None of them are attached to the world in any way. Then Bhagavan instructing them to transfer their wealth and possessions to their heirs within 3 years and devote as much to charities as they wished during that time, assuring that he himself would provide for their religious and spiritual needs. They accepted that commission with reverence and considered themselves exceptionally privileged. In a short time, they got rid of all their wealth, amounting to millions of rupees. So it is clear that these souls are in fact great personalities, as they are also described in the Gita, and of a high level because of the spiritual progress they have made in previous lives. The ashram is now located in the aforementioned cave, which measures 16.5 by 7.5 meters and is located in Mount Narayana. The area of this mountain where Bhagavan Naranarayana practiced asceticism is called Urvashi. In it lies a deep valley through which the Rishi Ganges flows. On the bank of this holy river is 2 kilometers from Badrinath, the famous place mentioned in the Puranas as Shamyaprash. Here, the great seer appointed Maharishi Vedavyasa, Lord Ganesha as his writer, and in this place he created the 5 Vedas, the Mahabharata, and many other priceless sacred books. Later he wrote, under the divine inspiration of Devarishi Narada, the Srimad Bhagavatam, expressing his great godliness. On the left bank of the Rishi Ganges is the Urvashi chain, where Bhagavan Satya Sai Baba founded the Gufa Ashram. Only believers and seers of a very high order reside here. Adjacent to this ashram is Urvashi Kund, and Sri Satya Sai Baba himself has explained in detail how great the spiritual and mythological significance of this place is. Briefly, it reads as follows. In the era when the truth prevailed, Urvashi Kund was the place where Lord Naranarayana used to do asceticism. Once deep in his meditation, Indra sent Kamadeva with some apsaras to test the Lord. But all attempts to divert Lord Naranarayana failed, and Kamadeva and his entourage had to accept their defeat, just like Krishna during his love dance with the gopis. Kamadeva and the Apsaras were deeply ashamed of their behavior. They fixed their eyes on the lotus feet of Narayana and humbly and urgently prayed, O omnipresent, omniscient Narayana, you be the victory, for your glory is infinite. You are the embodiment of spirit, enchantment, and dignity. We have committed a serious offense for which you could have severely punished us, but instead you have forgiven us. Just as an innocent child is always restless on grandfather's lap and harasses his grandfather in every possible way. For example, by pulling him on his beard or hitting him on the cheeks, while he has no idea what he is doing. So too, under the influence of our mischievous nature, we have dealt with you in a very unworthy manner. But just as a grandfather tolerates all the pranks of his grandchild and instead of becoming annoyed, gives him only his love, so have you treated and forgiven us as ignorant children. What a generosity, O Lord! But just as grandfather tolerates all the pranks of his grandchild and instead of becoming annoyed, gives him only his love, so have you treated and forgiven us as ignorant children. What a generosity, O Lord! But just as a grandfather tolerates all the pranks of his grandchild and instead of becoming irritated only gives him his love, so too have you treated and forgiven us as ignorant children. What a generosity, O Lord! In this way, Kamadeva and the Apsaras apologized again and again, and then asked for permission to return to the heaven. The ever-friendly Narayana smiled pleasantly and said, "It's not appropriate for someone to leave empty-handed when he visits this place while I am present. Wait a moment and take some prasad for Lord Indra." Saying this, Lord Narayana created a number of Apsaras of divine beauty and said to Kamadeva, "Give these Apsaras as a gift from me to Indra." Subsequently, Kamadeva and his entourage became very depressed. They humbly and emphatically prayed to the Lord thus, "O Lord, as soon as Indra sees these Apsaras, we are doomed, for we cannot compete with them in either grace or beauty, and will be sent away from heaven by our master." Still smiling sweetly, Narayana said, "Yet it is not appropriate for you to leave this way. That's against etiquette. Anyway, take the least attractive of these Apsaras with you." He then entrusted them to Urvashi. Now when Urvashi reached heaven and Indra saw her, he was instantly enchanted by her beauty. She was undeniably the most beautiful, and so Indra put her as the head of all Apsaras in heaven. The victory of Narayana over Kamadeva, although part of the divine game, is a victory in the true sense of the word. After all, we usually see the opposite happening in the world. Under the spell of his victory intoxication, the victor there becomes arrogant and the loser undergoes his defeat in silence, feeling shame and remorse. But in this case, the victor, Narayana, remains completely unaffected by his victory. He is completely free from any feeling of pride, while the defeated Kamadeva got over his sense of failure and shame when he received Urvashi as a favor from Narayana. After this incident, Naranarayana left this place and left for the other side of the mountain with an unknown destination. He decided to take this step because he wanted to avoid contact with other gods who would be only too happy to congratulate him on his victory over the lower lust. By the divine will, the place where Naranarayana had done his asceticism turned into a great lake known today as Urvashi Kund or Urvashi Sarovar. And the present divine incarnation, Lord SAI, founded the Gufa Ashram for his followers near this holy lake. The arrival of the followers appointed by Bhagavan Baba to this place is in itself a very unusual and fascinating story. In 1983, Bhagavan Baba asked 12 people to come to Bangalore. The group consisted of aforementioned 11 followers and also one who was also on the spiritual path. They were guests of Bhagavan there for about 2 weeks, who visited them daily and gave them the necessary instructions and exercises in spiritual disciplines and spiritual intercourse with the others. Afterward, they came together to Prasanthi Nilayam, where Baba blessed the two leaders with an interview. After again giving the necessary instructions, Swami said the following: in the Dwapara era, the sun god blessed the wife of the 5 Pandavas, Draupadi, with a divine miracle part. During their exile, this part helped Draupadi feed not only the 5 brothers but also the Brahmanas and guests who attended the meal. There was always enough because the jar was of divine origin and caused all food put in it to be multiplied so that all those present had to eat. The Pandavas were given the divine jar after the elders of the brothers, Yudhishthira, on the advice of the seer Rishi Dhaumya, performed a certain ceremony to please the sun god. And Baba continued, the part that I will give you, however, is even more wonderful. She is superior in every way to the part given to Draupadi. She had to prepare food first and then continue to pray while it was cooked in the pot. However, the jar I give you requires neither prayer nor any food. In fact, when I notice that you are all hungry, at my divine command, the necessary food will come to you, come in by itself. In addition to food, you will also obtain milk, fruit juice, and everything else you need from this jar. Go to a lonely, uninhabited cave in the Himalayas and practice the highest form of meditation there according to my directions. This will put you in a trance and connect you directly with the Atma principle. Do what you could not accomplish in previous lives. Both men threw themselves in Bhagavan to the ground and said goodbye reverently. Then they left as a group with Bhagavan's blessings and the divine part to the Himalayas. For about a year, they traveled through various Nepalese areas of the Himalayas, but soon noticed that wherever they went, people came and crowded around for maintenance and spiritual companions, which hindered their penance and adversely affected the level of their mental exercise. So they decided to head in the direction of Badrinath and look for some remote, hard-to-reach place to quench their thirst for intensive spiritual training. As they made their way through the Himalayas, the company first reached the sanctuary of Badrinath. There they performed all the rituals required in such places, paying tribute to Lord Badrinath. Then crossed the Rishi Ganges and headed towards Urvashi Kund, west of Badrinath. On the way, they had to spend the night on the snow-covered mountains and to find shelter under the rocks because this area was treacherously dangerous. Fortunately, thanks to the divine path, they had no food problems, and due to their strict ascetic lifestyle and Bhagavan's blessings, the effect of cold was negligible. The next morning at 10 o'clock, they reached Urvashi Kund. That was in June 1984. As soon as the party arrived, Bhagavan Baba performed one of his unimaginably playful miracles. After namely a ritual bath had taken in the lake and all the lotus positions were seated, they lost all contact with the world and immediately went into a trance. This rapture of mind was of such high standard that they stayed there not for several hours or few days, but no less than 18 full days. The reader will be able to imagine what an impossible 2-day force that was. The sadhakas were located at an altitude of 5,500 meters, where the thin air even makes breathing difficult. Furthermore, there was always a strong wind blowing, and the entire airspace seemed to be dominated by terrible cold wave. And under these harsh conditions, Sai Baba's followers remained in a deep trance for 18 days. This is hard to believe for people like us who live in the Iron Age. That for the first time in their lives, these people are in that high state of perfect balance and heightened consciousness for so long, to reside was solely due to the infinite grace of Bhagavan Baba. For such an achievement is beyond human ability. But God's deeds are never without a purpose, and so this game with the heightened consciousness served multiple purposes. One was to make clear what dedication is all about in principle. There is an old saying, Lord Rama is accessible to everyone with a pure heart, pure and open heart. But if one seeks his favor by means of a ruse, one will not reach Lord Chaturbuja. The purpose of this miracle of Lord Sai was partially to demonstrate this. The situation was as follows. When the party left Prasanthi Nilayam, a 12th person had joined the original group of 11. He was an enthusiastic follower of Bhagavan Sai Baba, and as a token of his grace, the Lord had materialized a ring and watch for him. This follower was exceptionally intelligent and relied more on his mind than his faith. When he led the group out in Prasanthi Nilayam, Bhagavan called this man separately and gave him another assignment. He forbade him to accompany the group. Given your temperament and your nature, I have chosen a different spiritual path for you. So he was expected to respect the Lord's commands with reverence. But because he considered himself too intelligent and judicious, he did not. Before he left, he said to Bhagavan that at least he would go with the group and that they should not blame him. The Lord tried to explain it to him again. You must be well aware that I am much friendlier to you than to any of the others, and you may certainly rejoice more in my grace. Take mine. The others I only show the path of asceticism and yoga, but I give you just like at the time to King Janaka, my grace in all its fullness, through your ascetic as well as worldly happiness to give. As for the others, I have them get rid of their wealth, which is hundreds of thousands of guilders, as it symbolizes a desire for worldly pleasures and has imposed strict asceticism to achieve total liberation. But you will not only enjoy unlimited wealth, but through my blessings, you will also become a master of yoga knowledge. Therefore, it is wiser to follow my advice and not to go with the group. However, the man was not persuaded by Bhagavan. He disobeyed him and left with the company for Urvashi Kund. Moreover, he applied another trick because he had become somewhat insecure. He thought, who knows, maybe the other members of the group will leave me on the way somewhere on the orders of Swami, and he made a plan to cover up against such a possibility. He collected the money that the other group members had for emergency and kept the entire amount under his management. So the others had no money in their pocket. Moreover, he took over by Bhagavan donated wonder part under his care. In this way, he became the leader of the company and he completely took charge of the organization of the trip. When the company finally reached Urvashi Kund, however, they were only 11 men. Their leader got lost on the way, leaving him behind and arriving later. By then, however, the others, as God intended, were deeply meditated. When he reached the holy place and found all the devotees in a trance, he fell victim to illusion. First, he interpreted the whole situation as a joke, with the result that although he had reached the place created by Narayana himself, he completely forgot to take the ritual bath. Even worse, he mocked his friends for half an hour. But when he saw no reaction for a while, not even the slightest movement, he began to suspect. He was afraid that something was wrong, for it was not possible for them to remain so immobile all the time that he poked fun at them. There was no sound, no movement, repressed or open laughter. Surely he should have noticed something. Distressed, he approached and touched the bodies. They were freezing cold and carved out of stone. This made him so overwhelmed that he thought all his companions were dead. Reinforced by the fact that he could not detect pulse on examination, when someone is in such a deep trance, the heartbeat has indeed stopped. He did not understand this. Finally, he concluded that his companions were all dead. Overcome with great grief, he let his tears run free for more than an hour, strengthened in this by the fact that he could not detect a pulse during research. Finally, he conducted that his companions were dead. Soothed, he became entangled in concerns such as, Sai Baba is an impostor responsible for the death of my friends. But if he is a liar, everything he has given must also be deception. The unfortunate thing was that he completely ignored the fact that Bhagavan donated miracle part. She had met all their needs the entire trip to Urvashi Kund, whether with milk, fruit or otherwise. Even all the alms they had received along the way had been due to the divine grace. At that moment, however, he lost every sense of reason and became so confused that he collected everything that they had received from Baba and forcibly threw it into Urvashi Kund lake. He then returned to Rishikesh via Badrinath and told acquaintances he met that all the other members of the party had died under tragic circumstances. Thus, now he had unwittingly became a liar. And so it became those who had observed the precepts of Bhagavan, Baba succeeded in bringing about their union with God through their deep trance and settled in that holy place where Lord Naranarayana himself had practiced asceticism. However, the one who thought he was so smart and showed little faith was placed outside Swami's mercy by his own actions. The Lord wants total surrender, not cleverness. This concludes the chapter. Om Shri Sai Ram. Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram.